Hello, today in this video lecture, we will cover Internet connectivity principles and applications protocols for IoT. In this video lecture, we will discuss IP formats, IPs, then 6LoWPAN, MQTT, and COAP. Let us start with the Internet protocol. Protocol is developed to establish a proper communication between two devices. These are the set of rules that is essential to develop the communication between two devices. So basically, internet is going to establish the connection between two devices. It is peer-to-peer connection. The protocol is known as Internet Protocol Layer. Popularly, this is known as IP. IP layer in a protocol stack consume shared resources. There are many resources, those are shared, and the sharing is done using the protocol that is Internet Protocol. Basically, the IoT system allows devices to communicate over TCP/IP protocol, that is transmission control protocol and internet protocol. Mainly this TCP/IP protocol is more popular and it will form the current form of the internet. It is the role of this TCP/IP architect to balance the cost of the services, that is shared resources, and the features against the impact on the system. The role in the IoT. So IP role in the IoT, we can say the features of Internet Protocol, that is IP. It is ubiquity. So IP stacks are provided by nearly every operating system and every medium. IP communication protocols are capable of running on various wireless personal area network systems: cellular, copper wire, fiber optic, PCI Express, and satellite system. IP specifies the exact format for all data communications and rules used to communicate, acknowledge, and manage the connectivity. Basically, the IP stacks are used and it is available in every or many type of operating system. It is a protocol that is capable of establishing a personal area network. We can use the wired or wireless communication using this IP protocol. Longevity. So basically, if we speak about the longevity of the IP, we know that the TCP was established in 1974 and the version, that is IPv4 standard, that was designed in 1978. And we know that I think there will be total the 40 years has been there the IPv4 protocol used. So in case of the longevity, it is the many industrial and IoT field solutions uses the devices that support this protocol. And for the decades, the system here supporting the IPv4 standard. So basically, the proprietary protocols have been designed by various manufacturers in those 14 years, but still the IPv4 is more popular and it is still used today. The protocols developed by the AppleTalk, SNA, DECnet, Novel IPX, these are the protocols available, but out of that, the IP protocol is more popular. IP role in IoT, features of IP, standards based. TCP/IP is governed by the Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF. The IETF maintains a set of open standards focused on the Internet protocol. Basically, there are standard which is based, so TCP/IP is based on a standard which is open sourced and it is maintained by IETF. Scalability. IP has demonstrated scale and adoption. IP networks have demonstrated massive scaling to billions of users and many more devices. IPv6, that is the another version of the internet protocol, IP version 4 and IP version 6. It is advanced version. IPv6 is an advanced version than IPv4. It is provided the unique IP address to every devices which is used for communicating using this IPv6 protocol, and nearly about there are more words are going to connect with this protocol. Manageability, so various tools exist to manage IP networks. This is a very important thing, that the IP networks can be managed with the tools available. These tools are open source tools, and some tools are there that is useful, that will going to operate the devices through the IP network. Modeling tools are available. Then some sniffers called as the network sniffers are available. Tools are available that can be diagnosed the network and the devices very easily. The various appliances also available that uses the IP network. So basically the building, scaling and the maintaining of network is very easy in case of the TCP IP or IP protocol. It is reliable, so its reliability plays very important role, because for the data transmission the packets are delivered from the system based on the connection or connectionless network. The services is considered unreliable from the conception, meaning the data is not guaranteed to be delivered. Basically, the IP is connectionless because each packet is treated independently from one another. Packets are treated independently. You remember, the packets are going to treat independently. IP is also referred to as best effort delivery, because in all attempts will be made to transmit a packet through various routes. The strength of this model allow an architect to replace the delivery mechanism with another, especially or essentially replacing the layers 1 and 2 of the stack with something else, that is Wi-Fi with the cellular. IP provide one more reliability, that we can replace one of the layer from this IP, and we can have the different layer that is suitable in that particular layer. TCP is used for connection oriented transmission. You remember, TCP is used for connection oriented transmission, whereas UDP is used for connectionless transmissions. Now we will see the open source interconnection model, popularly known as OSI model. Now we start with the layers. So there are 7 layers. Physical layer going to handle the physical devices, that is cables, fiber optics, RF spectrum, data encoding, media attachment, baseband, broadband, signaling, binary transmission, etc. So whatever the physical things are there, that is handled by the physical layer. Basically the protocol used in case of the transmission lines, maybe it is wired transmission or wireless transmission. In wire transmission we can use coaxial cable, fiber optics, etc. The fundamental data types are bits per signal. Now after this layer, physical layer, we have the second layer, data link layer. Now this data link layer deals with the data frames, mainly the MAC addresses, the packet, the physical addressing, media access control, LLC, frame error checking, sequencing, and recording of the data. Basically the data link layer deals with the data frame, whereas the physical layer deals with the actual physical devices, actual data in the bits per signal form. Third level or third layer is known as network layer. These layers are also known as the levels. So uh, network layer is dealing with the packets, that is known as the IP addresses. So IP packets going to deal in this layer. It will going to decide the path, the logical address, the routing, traffic control, frame segmentation, and subnet management. Next layer is the transport layer, fourth layer. Here the protocol is the TCP protocol, that is host to host flow control, end to end connection, the reliability, the message segmentation, acknowledgement, session messaging, these are handled with this layer. Basically, if you observe, we have the frames here in second layer, we have packets here in third layer, and we have the TCP segments are there. In case of UDP, we have the data graphs. In case of TCP, we have segments. In case of UDP, we have the data graphs. In case of the transport layer. Session layer, mainly it is going to synchronization between it is going to synchronization and logical port routing. Synchronization is essential here for the development of the particular session. It will going to start or terminate the session, that is the communication session. It will going to provide the security, logging, and it will provide the recognition. Session layer is deals with the particular data, and the protocols mainly are RPC, NFS, NetBIOS, etc. Sixth layer is the presentation layer in OSI reference model. It is the syntax layer. Basically, here the encryption or compression is done. Basically, the data is encrypted or decrypted here. The codecs are provided, the translation are provided, and it will going to operate on the data. The protocols are JPEG, ASCII, or ROT13. Last layer, that is seventh layer, is the application layer. This is very popular layer, and it deals with the data. Basically, SMTP and FTP, the protocols are used here. So user application layer, browser, then FTP, then application, etc. are the nothing but the applications layer. So in the application layer, we deals with the browser, we deals with the FTP app, and etc. It will going to access the remote file. It is responsible for the resource sharing, LDAP, and SNMP. So there are 7 layers of OSI model, popularly known as the used in the internet connectivity. WPAN with IP 6LO WPAN. Basically, W stand for the wireless, P is personal area network, wireless personal area network. So this is the wireless network. Now already we have deals that we know the UDP is used for connectionless transmission. UDP is used for connectionless transmission. In case of the IoT, we are dealing with the UDP if connection is wireless. If we connect the wired connection, then we have to use the TCP. So you remember that when we are dealing with UDP and when we are dealing with the TCP. So basically, wireless personal area network, IP means internet protocol. This is 6, that is known as the IPv6 version 6. So IP6. LO stand for the low power. W is wireless personal area network. So basically, the concept of this 6 low WPAN was formed in 2005. It is similar with the IPv6, but there are some modification that it will going to consume very low power. Again, there is modification as compared with the IPv6. IP addressability to the smallest and most resource constrained devices. So basically, this protocol, IP6LO WPAN protocol, is developed for the constrained devices. So the devices used in the IoT, basically those are constrained devices. This protocol is used. The standard is open for everyone to use and implement. So this is open source standard and we can use the standard. 6LoWPAN is an acronym that stands for IPv6 over low power WPANs. IPv6 over low power WPANs. This is for Internet Protocol Networking or low power RF communication systems for devices that are power and space constrained and do not need high bandwidth networking services. It's mainly developed for the RF communication over the low power. So low power is the important key in this protocol. The principal advantage of IPv6 low power WPAN is that the simplest of sensors can have IP addressability and acts as a network citizen over 3G, 4G, LTE, Wi-Fi, Ethernet routers. Any sensor can have the IP address. We will see how we can provide the IP address to the sensors. We can have one IP address to the many sensors also using the IP threading protocol. This is covered under the IPv6 over low power WPANs. So basically IPv6 provides significant theoretical addressability of 2 raised to 128 or 3.4 into 10 raised to 38 unique addresses. This will sufficiently cover that is known as the 50 billion internet connected devices by 2020. There is an estimation that the 50 billion devices can be connected using this protocol. And in IoT there are different things are there. The smart devices, so number of smart devices will be 50 billion by the year 2020, and those devices can be able to connect through this protocol IPv6 over low power WPANs. So those devices is actually we are counting 50 billions, but in actual we are just estimating to the 50 billion, but actually the devices will be well beyond that figure. And here the IPv6 is well suited for IoT purpose. So basically this protocol IP6 LoWPAN is well suited for the IoT applications. Let's see the topology, how it is here. Basically we have the internet, that is IP protocol, which is run on the IP protocol. We have the routers that is going to route the data to the particular destination and vice versa. Then we have developed the protocol that is known as the 6LoWPAN. Now this 6LoWPAN at the here it is known as the edge router. Now edge router is going to communicate between the internet, that is usual internet, that is standard internet, and our LoWPAN mesh network. So basically this is the mesh network. Inside here those are running on this protocol 6LoWPAN, and the edge router is here, that is responsible to transfer the data depending on the protocols. So here when the internet is going to transfer some data through this router, here this edge router is responsible to convert this data of standard internet, that is IPv6, to the data which is required here for the IPv6 low power WPANs. Similarly, if some devices here going to transmit the data to the internet, then this data is received by this edge router. Now edge router is going to convert this data that is taken from this host or any devices here, and that will be converted into the standard internet protocol data. Similarly, we can have the standalone servers also, and we can connect the two edge router together using the backbone. Basically this is the topology, you remember, and what we add here, the edge router, And using this edge router, we are going to communicate with the standard internet. And this is the mesh or network developed using 6 LoWPAN. We will see that is 6 LoWPAN networks are mesh networks residing here in the larger network. The topologies are flexible, allowing for ad hoc and disjointed networks without any binding to the internet or other systems, or they can be connected to the backbone or the internet using edge routers. 6 LoWPAN networks can be co-joined with multiple edge routers. This is called as the multi-homing. Multi-homing is referred to as the joining of multiple edge routers. We can see here, this is one edge router, this is second edge router, and this two edge router is going to join using the backbone. If multiple edge routers joining together, it is nothing but the multi-homing. Ad hoc networks can form without requiring an internet connectivity of an edge router. Basically, if you observe here, the mesh is constructed and this is optional one. If we require internet, then we can connect using the edge router, and if we create the mesh, this mesh for intercommunication, there is no requirement of internet. So ad hoc networks can form without requiring an internet connectivity. So basically we can see this is the ad hoc network, and if the communication is between this mesh only, in this network only, and we don't need the internet, then the ad hoc networks are useful. So basically in ad hoc network we don't use the internet. So without internet, this protocol, that is version 6 low power WPAN can work here, and it will establish the connection between the various devices. In that we require one router and the host. Edge router, so basically the edge router is known as the border router, is necessary in this protocol, and it has some functionality. So here it will going to handle the communication to the devices, and it will going to transfer the data to the internet. So basically it handles the devices and it will transmit the data to the internet. It going to perform the compression of IPv6 headers by reducing, because we know that the IPv6 having a 40 byte header and 8 byte in case of the UDP headers, and it is going to compressed by this edge router. And basically it is, if you observe the UDP header for the efficiency in a sensor network, a typical 40 byte IPv6 header can compress to 2 to 20 byte depending on the usage. Basically, the compression is done in case of the edge router. It will initiate the network, that is the IPv6 low power WPAN network. This is responsible to exchange the data between devices on the network, that is IPv6 low power WPAN networks. The edge routers form 6 LoWPANs mesh network on larger traditional network perimeters. They can also broken exchanges between IPv6 and IPv4 if it is necessary. Top nodes within the 6 LoWPAN mesh. Nodes are going to register with the edge routers as a part of network discovery, that is ND. Here the nodes are going to register with the edge router. The network discovery control host and router in the local 6 LoWPAN mesh will interact with each other. Multi-homing allows for the multiple 6 LoWPAN edge routers to manage a network. There are three types of the nodes we can see here. One is the edge router. We have also seen in the protocol here, that is edge router, host nodes and edge routers. So here the router nodes, These nodes the going to handle the data from one 6 LOWPAN mesh node to another. The routers can also communicate outward to the WAN and internet. Host node host in mesh network cannot route the data in the mesh and are simply endpoints consuming the data because it is going to only receiving the data or it is going to transmit the data. Hosts are allowed to be in sleep states, occasionally waking to produce data or receive the data. And we know smart devices or things are nothing but the host in this 6 LOWPAN. Edge routers, as stated, these are gateways and mesh controller, usually at the WAN edge. A 6 LOWPAN mesh would be administered under the large or under the edge routers. So there are many edge routers here. The edge routers forward datagrams at a network layer. The edge routers forwards datagrams at a network layer. Because of this, the router does not need to maintain application state. Unique local unicast address is generated, and that is the neighbor discovery ND is going to offer here for the node registration. So performing neighbor discovery registration. See the protocol here, that is known as the stack, protocol stack. So there are various layer here as like in OSI layer, OSI reference model. So features are framing, unicast transmission and addressing. So we'll start here the low level, that is lower layer here. The physical layer is responsible for receiving and converting the data. The protocol is used 802.15.4. You remember IEEE 802.15.4. Next is the 802.15.4. The MAC, that is the data link layer, is responsible for detecting and correcting the error. If you observe the network layer, you can see here it is very much complicated as compared with the other layers, because this layer is responsible for the security. Then adaptation layers, different convergence, IPv6, ICM PV6, RPL, then the 6 LOWPAN ND network discovery is available here. Then the TCP UDP, for UDP is for connectionless and TCP for connection oriented purpose, that is transport layer. Application layer deals with the HTTP, MQTT and COAP. Now one by one we will see here. That is the mesh addressing and routing. Mesh routing operates in the physical and data link layers to allow packets to flow through a dynamic mesh using multiple hops. 6 LOWPAN mesh networks utilize two schemes for routing. There one is mesh under network, and other is the route over network. Now we will see here, whatever the network here we are routing the data, it is a mesh under network, and if data is going outside this mesh, it is the mesh over routing. Under network in the mesh, so it is the data is routing under the mesh, data is going to travel inside the mesh only, inside the network only. In a mesh under topology, routing is transparent, and assume a single IP subnet representing the entirely or the entity of the mesh. A message is broadcast in a single domain and is sent to all devices in the mesh. As previously mentioned, this generates considerable traffic. Mesh under routing will move from hop to hop in the mesh, but only forward packets up to layer 2, that is data link layer of the stack. 802.15.4 handles all the routing for each hop in layer 2. Basically, the data packets handle up to the layer 2 in mesh under network by the hop, and data is transferred within the network. If you want to transfer the data through the internet, and that should be route over the network. So here The protocol is route over network protocol. In a route over protocol network will ensure the change of charge of forwarding packets up to 3 layers, that is up to the network layers of the stack. Route over schemes manage routes at an IP levels, and each hop represent one IP router. We will see how it happen. So if there is a source under mesh, you remember this is under mesh, and one this source is in the mesh and the destination also available in the mesh. You remember the source and destination available in the mesh. So source from application layer to the transport network data and physical. So from the source the data is transmitted, and here there is a hope that will going to receive this data up to the physical layer to the data link layer, and then data link layer to physical layer, and then it is transferred to the destination. You remember mesh under mesh, the data coming from the source and it is handled in the hop with two layers only, that is handled by the two layer physical layer and data link layer, and then it transferred to the destination because source and destination available in a single mesh. In case of route over routing, if you want to transfer the data over the mesh and to the internet or other meshes that is available, so here there is a source. From the source the data is transferred. Now in the hop it is handled up to the 3 layer: physical layer, data link layer and network layer, because the network layer deals with the packets and it will going to develop the IP packets, and then it transferred to the destination. We know the route over is going to transfer the data or going to receive the data from the sources which is outside of the mesh. The route over network implies that every router node is equally capable and can perform the largest set of the functions as a normal IP router and as duplicate address detector. It defines the route over protocol, that is mainly RPL. So basically the RPL is the route over protocol. So RPL is developed for the route over protocol. Now if you observe here, already we have seen the RPL in the network layer for the route over protocol, and this too is going to capable the mesh under routing, and this RPL is going to handle the mesh over routing. The advantage of the route over the architecture is the similarity with traditional TCP/IP communication. So it is very much similar to the TCP/IP communication method. RPL provides multi-point-to-point communication where traffic from devices in the mesh communicate to a central server on the internet, and point to multi-point communication where central services to the devices in the mesh. The RPL protocol has two modes for managing the route tables, that is storing mode and non-storing mode. In storing mode, all the configured as the router in the mesh maintain the tables, that is routing table, and all entries will be done in the table. In non-storing mode, only the single device as a edge router maintains the routing, and it will going to maintain the record in the table. To transmit the data from one host to the another, and in this mesh, the data is sent up to the router where its route is calculated and transmitted to the receiver. This implies that the edge router will always be referenced to deliver packets in the mesh. This allows the router nodes the freedom of not managing the large routing tables to manage, but it can have some latency and it will going to move the packets because the edge router is must be referenced. Storing mode system will have the higher processing and it going to require the much more memory, and it will going to manage the routing tables to store the each of the node, and it is much more efficient that going to establish a particular path. 6 allow WPAN mesh, the addressing header, how the header is there, we can observe here, that is the hop count. It has some hop count here, the source addresses, the destination addresses, and during the resolution or routing phases. Now you can see here there is header. The hop count is set to an initial high value and then decremented each time the packet transmitted or propagates from one node to the another node. If it is 0, it means that there is no packets for the propagation, and hence the packets will be dropped and that particular node will be dropped from the mesh. And we know the source here, it will going to provide the source address, and we know that the host node removes itself from the mesh when the hop count is become 0. So this is the data format, or we can say the addressing header for 6 low WPAN. You remember it is 8 bit, the source address is 16 bit, destination address is also 16 bit. Is also providing the header compression. So header compression is going to compress and remove redundancy in the IPv6 standard header for efficiency reason. The packets hop between the nodes and it will be required the compression decompression on each of the hop. So depending on the transmission or reception, we have to compress or decompress the header. It will going to adopt the stateless and share the context compression. Along with the compression, the 6 LOWPAN provided the fragmentation. Again, there are two types of the fragmentation: mesh under routing fragmentation and route over routing fragmentation. In mesh under routing fragmentation, that is final destinations, it is provided at the final destinations, and the fragments need to accounted during the assembly, and if there is a missing the packet, the entire transmission should be done. So retransmission should be there if there is some missing of particle. So as a some side, mesh under systems require all fragments to be transmitted immediately on the priority basis, and it will basically generate a very burst traffic using if we use the mesh under routing fragmentation. The route over routing fragmentation, it is through the every hop mesh, and nodes along the route carries each resources and it will going to rebuild all fragments depending on the information provided by the hop. We see the header, how the fragmentation header is going to construct. That is, the header is here, that is 802.15.4 header. Then we have the fragmentation header, then datagram, then of 8 bit, then datagram tag of 16 bit, and datagram offset and FCS. The fragmentation header includes the datagram size, and we specify the total size unfragmented data. The datagram tag, which is identify the set of fragments belonging to a payload. At the datagram offset, it indicates the fragment belong to whether it is belong to a payload sequence or not. And if we remember, one thing is that the data offset is not used for the first segment, but it used for the new segment sequences. And here the first segment starts always with the datagram offset 0. So if the segment or if the fragmentation segment is the first segment, then datagram offset will be 0. We will see the neighbor discovery, and it is also defined here for the one hop routing protocol. This is a formal contract, or we can say the network nodes in the mesh, and the node discovery is very important when the nodes are going to register, and the process of discovering the new neighbors as a mesh can grow, shrink, and transform, resulting in the new and changing neighbor relations. These are two basic processes, and four basic messages types are there. Now here you remember one thing, the neighbor registration. It will going to help for finding the neighbors, and after registration the neighbor confirmation. Again we are going to confirm whether the neighbor is there or not at the particular registration address. The finding routers. So in case of the routers, we can also have the solicitation of the particular router, and if the router is found and if it is acknowledged, so there will be the advertisement from the router. We remember the four things: NR, neighbor registration; NC, neighbor confirmation, which is related with the nodes. Related with the router, we have RS, router solicitation, and RA, that is router advertisement. The neighbor discovery, uh, due to the neighbor discovery, is going to grow the mesh because new nodes are added particularly, and the nodes will be registered here. Now here the neighbor discovery will process that it going to link and going to find the low power wireless devices here or subnets here. It will going to minimize the control traffic, and it will going to control the traffic and minimize the traffic. The host sending the RS messages to the request to the mesh network. The router responds to the prepex. So in case of the router, we already know that there are RS and RA. So if we want to request something, we have to send the RS message, and then router will respond it here, and that is nothing but the uh, advertisement. So here the self-link local unicast address is developed. This is the example how it is developed. The host transmitting the link local unicast address in a NR message to the mesh. And you remember that the duplicate address detection is also performing here for waiting the NC for a set time, and if time expires, it assumes the address is unused. Basically, what we have here, we can see in a diagrammatic manner. So there are one host and one router. In between this, there is the router solicitation. So RS signal will be sent, RS message will be sent by this host to the router. In response to this RS message, router will send the RA, router advertisement. Now the host will going to register, that is the NR, neighbor registration, and this will request to the router. If router is grant the request, then it will going to send a confirmation message, that is NC, and along with that it will also send the neighbor registration to the edge router. Now as it will send, the edge router is going to accept the registration from this router, and it will send the neighbor confirmation. If it sends the neighbor confirmation, the router also going to send the neighbor confirmation to the host. Now host knows that this host is ready to transfer the data, and it will going to transfer the data, and already we know that here this host is registered in this router, so it will allow it, and router knows that the data should transfer to the edge router. Already the request and acknowledgement is done here, so it will received by this router. As router receives this, it is registered in the router, and it knows the IP addresses, then it will send to the IPv6 host. So this is a very simple method in this 6LoWPAN mesh node. The security, so here AES 128 encryption method is used to encrypt the data. At the network layer of protocols, it has the option to use standard security, and the options are authentication header or handler for integrity protection and authentication. Authentication handler is there, and ESP encapsulating security payload, and this will encryption to secure the packets. Transport layer security TLS for the TCP traffic, and datagram transport layer security for UDP traffic. TLS for TCP and DTLS for UDP. You remember this, and this is inbuilt here, the standard security AH and ESP with IP thread. This is very important concept in this protocol. Thread is a relatively new networking protocol for IoT. Mainly this is developed for the IoT applications, and it is actually this is based on the IPv6, that is 6LoWPAN protocol. Its target is the home connectivity and home automation. In case of the home automation, we are dealing with the number of sensors, number of actuators, and the problem is that how to handle the IP addresses of each of the devices. The solution is the IP threading. Thread is IP addressable, so every thread is IP addressable, and the IP protocol builds on the data and physical layer. Actually, the protocol is provided by IEEE 802.15.4, and the features such as the security and routing from the 6LoWPAN is also provided. Threads basically the mesh based, and it is going to handle the devices from the maximum devices is 250 devices can be handled by this IP thread. In a single mesh we can handle 250 different devices, and if you require the more we can construct the more number of the threads. The philosophy with the thread is going to enable the IP addressability in the smallest of sensors and home automation systems. One can reduce the power because it needs the persist application, and since the protocol uses the datagrams at the network layer, and because of that the power consumed here is less as compared to the standard method. It implies the edge router hosting a thread mesh network not going to provide the process application layer protocol, but it can have the lower power, it can have the processing. Whenever the processing is needed, it is going to process it, and so the low it going to consume very low power. We know it is inherently secure because it is actually developed here from 6LoWPAN method, and it is one of the thread. It is encrypted, so advanced encryption standard AES is used here. Up to 250 nodes can be supported here, and fully encrypted transmission. The thread architecture and topology, basically threads uses the specification to define the medium access controller, that is MAX, and physical layers. If we take one example, the band is 2.4 gigahertz, then this thread is operated on 250 kilobytes per second. Threads establishes communication with other devices through a border router or edge router. Usually we have the Wi-Fi signal in a household. The rest of the things, that is the communication, is based on the IEEE 802.15.4 protocol, and it is what we say, it is a self-healing mesh. Basically, if we have the thread network topology contains the border router or edge router, the routers, the lead devices, the eligible IoT devices, that combines the total host. The interconnections may be variable. It means that the devices may move, the mobile devices may be there, and it is the self-healing type of the mesh. If some devices getting out of the mesh, so ultimately the this method, that is the thread router, knows that the device is out of the mesh, and some new devices when came into the mesh, the thread router knows that the new devices has come, and this will be going to register that particular device, and it will going to identify that device. The thread network is very important thing in case of the IoT, because basically the smart things or smart devices is working under this thread network. So it is related with the three major parts: border router, lead device, and thread router. The edge router or border router is essentially a gateway, and in home automation network or in home network, it would be a communications crossover from Wi-Fi to the thread and forms the entry point to the internet. So basically the border router is acts as the gateways, and that will going to transfer the data to the internet taken from the smart devices using Wi-Fi method, or we can have the wired connection also. So from the mesh running underneath a border router. Multiple border routers are allowed under the thread specification. The lead device. The lead device manages a registry of assigned router IDs. Basically, it related with the registration of the IDs, and it going to control, and also it control the request which are getting from the router eligible end devices. And this is very important thing, that is read router eligible end devices. And here this read is going to promote the routers. Remember, the leads is to be promoted to the routers. A lead is acts as the device end point or device end children. The protocol for assigned of router addresses is known as the Constraint Application Protocol, COAP. And Constraint Application Protocol is developed for the read, because we know that the smart devices is basically under constraint. It has low memory, it has some constraint, it has low processing microprocessor or microcontroller, and hence because of these constraint we have to another protocol to deal with this, that is the Constraint Application Protocol for the read. And basically we have the protocol that will going to consume the low power. The lead devices manages the different thread routers. The network is the self-healing type of the network, and and whenever it is a losses in the connectivity, it will going to, or if there is a failure, it will going to recover from itself by the self protocols or self algorithms. The thread routers manage the routing services of the mesh. The thread routers basically never enter into the sleep state, but allows the specification to downgrade themselves to become a RAID. The reads, a host devices that is a read, can become routers or a leader. Remember that we can have the flexibility in this thread networking, that the read can become router, and here it become the leader also. Here reads are not responsible for routing in the mesh unless they are promoted to a router or leader. So by default the reads are reads, and these are not for the routing purpose. So basically they do not behave like a router, but if we force or if we promote to function as a router, then the reads are ready to work as a router. Reads also cannot transmit the messages or join the devices to the mesh. You remember, it is cannot the transmit the message. So essentially these are the endpoints, or we can say the leaf node in the network. Basically the reads are the important part of the thread network. End devices, so some endpoints cannot become the routers obviously, and these types of the reads have two other categories, that they can subscribe to full end devices, that is FEDs, and minimal end devices, that is MBDs. Sleepy end devices, host devices that have entered a sleep state, communicate only with their associate thread, and it cannot transmit the messages. So basically there is a sleep state to reduce the power consumption. We can see here the thread protocol stack. So thread will make us, that is use of the full benefit of 6LoWPAN, and it also uses, that is thread protocol also uses the header compression addressing method that is used in the IPv6. It is secure than more secure as like the IPv6, as like the 6LoWPAN. So here the threads are having the similar functionality if you compare with the 6LoWPAN and IPv6. The threads also uses the fragmentation scheme, and it also going to develop the additional layers, that is distance vector routing and mesh link establishment. Up to 32 active routers are allowed in a thread network. Route is based on the next hopping routing method. The master route table is maintained by a stack. All routers have the data that should be copied in the table, and it will going to route the data for the particular network. Establishment, that is known as the MLE. It is a method to update path and cost from other one router to the another, so in a particular network. Additionally, MLE provides a way to identify, configure the neighborhood nodes in the mesh and secure them. As a mesh network can expand, shrink, and change shape dynamically, MLE provides the mechanism for reconstitute the topology. So topology can be changed based here, and MLE is providing the flexibility to change the topology. And this is the more advanced thing or more flexible thing in the IoT, that when the node is movable, node is a mobile node, then the MLE is going to handle that particular situation. MLE exchange the path cost, and it will going to compress the format. The messages is in the network is broadcasted by the multicast protocol, that is multicast protocol for low power and lossy networks, that is MPL. The thread addressing methods to find the parent router address. At this very much point, the source of transmission knows the cost of reach the children as well as the next hop information to start the route. We have to use here the distance vector routing in this thread addressing method to find the path to the router and in the thread network. So basically, upper 6 bits of the 16-bit address indicate the destination router, and which uses the prefix, and lower 10 bits of the data which is here, that is specifying, and here destination is set and the data is set to the 0, and final destination is the particular router. In the other method, we have the destination router. We're going to forward the packets on based on the lower 10 bits. If route extends outside of the thread network, then a border router will signal to the leaders of the particular prefix data, include prefix data, IPv6 low WPAN context, border routers. One important server is the DHCP IPv6 servers, and the information is communicated through the MLE packets through the thread networks. So MLE is very important things whenever we are going to handle the data with the servers like DHCP. Within the thread network, all addressing is UDP based. You remember, we have to use the Wi-Fi because UDP is totally used in case of the contactless or connectionless method. So if data is connectionless, we have to use the UDP. So here the thread is working on the UDP method, hence we have to use the Wi-Fi or any wireless technology for the data exchange. If necessary, we have to transmit the data in the thread network. So there are retries depending on the acknowledgement whether we are getting or not, if data is received or not. So first is the we will see the MAC level entries. So each devices uses the MAC acknowledgement, and it is the acknowledgement is not received from the next hop. The application retries, where the application layer will provide its own retry mechanism. The constraint application protocol. So mainly it is the application part, and already you can observe here the application layer. We have seen some TCP part here, UDP part here, and the application part is the COAP. We already seen it is the last layer in case of the 6LO WPAN protocol stack. Protocol, a communication protocol for constrained devices, as it is made for only machine to machine communication, and the machine to machine communication is done between the edge nodes. Basically, it supports the mapping to HTTP, and it uses the proxies settings there. The proxies are there, and using that proxies, the COAP is going to support the HTTP. So mapping is very simple, and mapping is done through the proxies. This HTTP mapping is onboard facility to get data across the internet. COAP, Constraint Application Protocol, is excellent at providing a similar and easy structure of resource addressing familiar to anyone with experience of using the web, but with reduced resources and bandwidth demands. So as we see here, it has some reduced resources because already it is working for the constraint devices, and the bandwidth is also low. Basically, the protocol is developed for the constraint devices. It is similar functionality with the significant less overhead and power requirement. If you compare the HTTP with COAP, we know that the bytes per transaction in case of COAP is 154, whereas in case of HTTP we can observe here it is 1451. So if you compare these two, again the bytes are going to reduce in case of the COAP. The power consumed, if you observe, it is 1.333 milliwatt, whereas in case of COAP the power consumed is 0.744 milliwatt. And because of low power consumption, if you observe the battery lifetime, it is 151 days, 151 days in case of COAP, and whereas in case of HTTP it is 84 days. The COAP architecture details, we can see the features of the COAP. It is as like the HTTP, it is connectionless protocol, so we have to use the Wi-Fi or other uh, wireless communication technologies. The security through the DTLS rather than the TLS, you remember we have to use here DTLS in case of the COAP, and in case of the normal HTTP transmission we have to use the TLS. It is asynchronous message exchange, and it is designed for the low header overhead. It supports the URI and content types. It is built upon the UDP, and it is for a normal HTTP session. So here the normal HTTP can be mapped with the COAP. A stateless HTTP mapping allows the proxies, and it will going to develop a bridge to HTTP sessions. So basically the proxies are developed, and that will going to map the HTTP and COAP for the particular HTTP session. The constraint application protocol, will see the basic layer here. So there are some basic layers. The request or response layer. The responsible for sending and receiving the data or queries here, and the queries are again piggyback on the con or the non messages. The response is the piggybacked on the corresponding acknowledge message. So request layer or response layer, request or response is done here in case of the COAP. The transaction layer handles the single message between the endpoint using one of the basic message types. The transaction layer also support the multicasting, and it will going to support the conjunction in the control. Basically, the other point is the endpoints. These are the sources and destinations of the COAP message. The specific destination and endpoints depend on the transport being used. The proxies, these are very important thing in the COAP, and it tasked by the COAP clients to perform request on its behalf, reducing the network load because it develops some bridge to have the mapping with the HTTP. The access sleeping nodes to have the low power consumption, providing the layers of the security, and due to that the proxies are selected particularly by the client. If it is selected by the client, it is known as the forward proxy, But if it is selected by a server, it is known as the reverse proxy. Alternatively, the proxies map from one COAP request to another COAP request, and that will translate the different protocols, that is known as the cross proxying. A common situation is an edge router proxying from a COAP network to HTTP services, and here when we dealing with the cloud-based internet connection, we have to deal with the proxy method that is going to have some connection between COAP and HTTP by establishing a top bridge. The clients, it is the originator of a request, the destination endpoint of a request. In case of the COAP system, we have the server. It is known as the destination endpoint of the request, the originator of response. So basically, server gives the response. Intermediary, a client acting as a both server and client and towards an origin server, and here the proxy is intermediary. So basically, this intermediary is in between the server and the client. Origin server, basically it is a resource is resides in this server. Observer is going to register itself using a modified get message, and it is connected to a resource, and it will going to state the resources changes, whether available or whether the resources is changed, and server will send back the notification to the observer. So basically, observer is going to observe the resources in that particular network. Format, that is confirmable, that is con. Request and acknowledge. If a con message is sent, an acknowledge must be received. So this is the confirmable message. Non-confirmable means non. Confirmable means con. CON. Non-confirmable is non, and it does not require the acknowledgement. And it is far and forgot message for the broadcast. Acknowledgement, it going to acknowledgement for the con type of messages. And reset, RST, that the con message has been received but the context is missing. When the context is missing, we have the reset. MQTT, that is the next format here, as like the COAP. It is popularly known as message queue telemetry transport. Message queue telemetry transport. The name is quite controversy, as if you see the functionality of MQTT, because message queue is very much limited. Queues are constructed in a limited scenario, and it is not in a very much broad sense. But in general, we are traditionally, when this protocol is developed, we know that it is known as the message queue telemetry transport. We will see in the detail. That is the goal of this method, that is IP based transfer protocols are, it must be simple, it provide the quality of service, it should be lightweight, it should use the bandwidth in efficient manner, the data should be handled in the very sophisticated way, it should aware about the continuous sessions, and the security issues it should be handled. So MQTT is TCP based type, and here it will going to use it has the all functionality, all advantages, all benefits of the TCP here for the MQTT, and it is guaranteed that the packets are transferred in a reliable manner. MQTT is a asymmetric protocol, and you remember that the HTTP is non-symmetric protocol. The queue telemetry transport, the MQTT retain a message on a broker indefinitely. The mode of operation is controlled by a flag for the normal transmission. A flag is constructed there. A retained message on a broker is sent to any client and subscriber to that MQTT traffic branch. The message is transmitted immediately to the new client, and this allows low client or new client to receive a status or signal from a newly subscribe topic without waiting. Typically, a client going to subscribe to a typical way to, and because of that it will wait for publish his data. The MQTT going to define some the last will and transmit LWT, which is the message a client specifying that the connection in the connection phase that it is going to request the proxies part. The QoS and the actual messages is going to transmit here. If a client disconnect from a connection and for the keep allow timeout or input output errors or some reason, if some client is disconnected, here the broadcast LVT message to the other subscribed client that the device is going to removed from the mesh. But you remember that the things are the client is disconnected, but the data related with that client is remain in the table. A device may lose power, device may lose signal, and the device may crash in the field. And here, in that cases, it is going to lose the communication, and this state is known as the half open state. And the server believe that the connection is still available, and the server is going to expect some data from that particular device. But we know that there is no communication because of some reason, and it is entered into a half open state. Okay, so the remedy or the solution of this half open state is that it going to uses the keep allow system. The method is keep allow system. So MQTT has a method called as a keep allow system for the half open state. So using this method, the MQTT and the client have assurance that the connection is still valid even if there is no transmission for the some time. And the client send a signal, that is the packets, or client send the packets to the broker, and that which in turn receives the acknowledgement from that server. A timer is present on the client and broker side that we're going to track the time interval in between the messages, and it is guarantees that the time limit is inserted here, and both the messaging will reset if it will going to keep allow the timer. Now here, the half open state is handled here by ensuring that there is a still connection. MQTT publish or subscribe. Send the transmitting or sending a message is nothing but the publisher. And here the client, if the client is transmitting, it is publisher. If client is receiving the message, it is a subscriber. There are few filtering. The three type of filterings are used in case of the messages. So subject filtering. Here it is going to fill by the design. It is if the client is subscribed to a topic, certain topics or branches, and which is do not receive more than that of what we want here, then each published message must contain a topic, and the broker is responsible for either rebroadcasting that message to subscriber, or it will going to ignore by the client. So basically, if the client is going to subscribe for a particular data and the data is not available, so here the broker is responsible, that is the subject filtering. So first the subject is going to filter, then it will going to filter the content. The broker has the ability to inspect the published data, and here the data is not encrypted and be managed by the broker and before being stored or published to the other clients. Another filtering is the type filtering, and the client is listening the data strips and apply their own filter methods for the incoming data, and can be streamed, either processed over the can be processed or it can be ignored. So the maximum allowable packets in MQTT is 256 MB, which allows for the extreme large payloads. The MQTT popularly uses the format known as JSON format. or JSON text. So whenever we are dealing with the messages, we are dealing with the data or the formats MQTT use is the JSON format. The architecture of MQTT, a persistent connection will save the broker sites, that is all client subscriptions, all QoS messages, and the new QoS messages. The quality of service is based on the three different categories here. QoS 0, that is non-assured transmission. This is the minimal QoS level. This is analogous to the fire and forget model. This is analogous to fire and forget model, detailed in some of the wireless protocols. And here the best default delivery process is not done here, but we have some acknowledging when we send the message. And if the acknowledgement is not there, then there will be the reattempt of the transmission. The QoS1, that is assured transmission, this mode will guarantee delivery of the message at least once to the receiver. It may be delivered more than one, and the receiver will send an acknowledgement back to the sender. The assured trust service on the application. So this is the higher level of the QoS. It ensures that and informs both the sender and receiver that the message has been transmitted correctly. And this mode is going to generate more traffic, and it's going to have the multiple handshakes between sender and receivers. In case of the architect, the QoS 0 is used when messaging queuing isn't needed, and it is best for the wired connections. In QoS 1, this is the default method, and it is going to reduce the transmission cost. QoS 2, it is the critical application, and the cases where the retransmission of duplicate message could be cause the faults. So fault may occur in QoS 2. The formats you can see here, the MQTT packet format here, and basically the TCP layer of the OSI model network stack. So what we have, the control header here, and the header is MQTT header, control header, which is of I think 1 byte. 1 byte is the 8 bit. So 8 bit is divided into two part. One, that is 4 bit is the packet type, and 4 bit is related with the flags. The packet length may be 1 to 4 bytes. So there is header, and this is control header is 1 byte, it is fixed, and this is variable. But we have to fix here, if 1 byte of the packet length is considered, then the length of the header will be 2 byte. And these are the optional things, that is the variable length header and payloads. Basically the control header is very important here, and it has the two format, that is packet type and flags. We will see the packet types. So there are 4 bit, and if you observe, the 4 bit is related with the numbers from 0 to 15. So 4 bit is going to indicate the number, binary number 0 to 50, and each of the has the different methods here, that is the directions here. So first is reserved, that is forbidden, then the directions are given here, then the functions are given here, and the short name for this also given here, that is MQTT control packets. So we have to use these short names whenever we are dealing with the actual practical purpose in the IoT smart devices. Similarly, the packet flags are there, which is 4 bit, and those are given here, and the control packet names are also given here. The communication formats are very simple, that is connect format from client to server, connect written codes, that is server to client, publish format client to server, subscribe format client to server. The client to server connect format, these are the fields required. There is the requirement, or which one is the optional, and the methods here given, that is description is given. So at the time of the programming, we need the fields and the description. Similarly, we have the server to client connect model, and the codes are given here. that is 0, 1 to 0 to 5 codes, and the description is also provided. And when the connection is successful, it will going to return the code 0. The publish format, that is client to server, again the fields are given, the descriptions are given, and I recommend the student to memorize these formats and use in case of the project. The subscribe format, that is client to server, fields are given and descriptions are given here. The MQTT wildcards, the wildcards used to subscribe to the multiple topics in a single message. And the example, the method is given here. We are subscribing the multiple topics here, that is country, state, cities, temperature, humidity. You can see the full path. We have the three type of the wildcards, that is single level wildcards. The substitutes a single level in a topic string name only, that is the name here what we are mentioned the country name here, and that will going to substitute the state level and replace it with all 50 state. Multi-level wildcards, it going to replace the levels rather than the single level. And here we have the multiple parts here, that is states. The special topics, the MQTT brokers deals with the client that is cannot publish to the topic, and there is no official standard for at this moment that will going to handle or that going to model the banners. So here we have the three type of wildcards. So in this video lecture we have deal with the internet, the IP formats like 6LO WPAN, MQTT and COAP. Thank you.